There's something really satisfying and comforting to be able to close the shutters up at night when we finished with, when tonight it was Mark, put the chickens away and closing everywhere up. And it feels like it's tucking us in, and it's very comforting. And I think it more so, I mean, it's nice when the weather's really cold, and at the moment the weather isn't really cold. It's damp because it's been squally all day, and but it's not as cold as it has been. It's not winter cold, but it's just cozy. And I think with the world the way it is at the moment, even though we're not living over there, we're living here in Europe, which is also sort of a bit wobbly. It just feels really secure. And I know that the reality is, if somebody wanted to batter their way in, they probably could do. The shutters are locked on the inside, so there's a lever that comes down and slots in, and so you need to be inside to be able to undo them. So it's really comforting. We both didn't have a good night. We both, Mark was up, but he keeps getting up, waking up at 2 o'clock, can't get back to sleep, head, stuff going around in his head. And what happens is it disturbs me, and then I end up laying there, waiting, not waiting for him to come back, but aware that he's not there. And so I don't go off into a deep sleep. And then so he's up for a couple of hours. I think he said he was up at 2 and back at 4, and then so he came back at 4, and I don't think I went into a deep sleep after that, but I must have done at some point, because I really had to struggle to get myself up this morning at around 10 o'clock. So it's not good. It's not good, really. But there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that there's I read some years ago that older people tend to have, when they sleep in shifts. And I think that's true. It's like I find often that I've had a good, if I get off well and have a good solid piece of sleep, it's normally about 4 hours, and then I'm awake. And what I do at the moment, as far as I'm able, is just stay in bed, and I just lay there. I'm very comfortable. I mean, most often nowadays, the most comfortable place for me is laying in bed. I don't often have a lot of pain in bed, which is really nice. That when I wake up in the morning and I'm laying there, I'm thinking, oh God, this is good. I just don't have any pain, because as soon as I get up, my aches and pains come back. So I just wait it out nowadays, if I'm awake, and stay in bed. And I try and think of things that are, I go back into my past. I think that's a comfortable place to be some of the time. And what came to me when I was going back into the past just last night was, I remember I think it was just after I separated from my first husband, which would have been in the early 90s, I came across to Piccadilly with my friend she and her husband had bought a house in a small village in Piccadilly. And I was thinking about French houses, and the village houses particularly, and how you can drive through a village. And you've seen, because I drive you, we do road trips and you go through villages, is they're sort of quite shabby on the outside. They don't look like they're in anything. Often at this time of year, the shutters are closed. But you don't see what's hidden inside. You don't see how lovely they are inside. And I think it's very similar in Spain. I can remember walking around Granada, and where else were we? Cordoba, and you'd peer in through a small gap into a courtyard, and in a courtyard, and all of the beauties on the inside, and on the outside there isn't. There's not a message on the outside saying, look at me, look how lovely I am. And this house in Piccadilly had got the most wonderful rooms in it. And I remember that I slept in an unfinished room. Went up the stairs, and off to the right was an unfinished room under the eaves in an attic with a mattress on the floor. And I slept in there because I wanted to. It was just magical. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, because I can't even remember now. But it had the most amazing bathroom. It was a really big room, about half the size of this room, with beautiful tiles on the floor. I think the bath was a roll top bath with very ornate taps at one end, and it was on the ground floor. Yeah, it was on the bathroom was on the ground floor, but it was just lovely. But it was in a village. You know, you could put your head out the window and you'd got the street running past. But you couldn't see the gem that was on the inside, and that's quite often how it is. And I think my um, in my opinion, and I might be wrong, but I what I pick up over this 18 years is that French people aren't ostentatious. Uh, I say French people. I think city people are probably different. You know, you live in a city, it's a bit different. But out here in rural France, and I'm sure in many parts of rural France, French people aren't ostentatious. They're not having to keep up. No, that's what I was trying to think of, and I went to look it up, and I couldn't think of it. You know, when you talk in the UK, you talk about keeping up with Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses. I can't think what it would be over here. I can't think actually what a common French surname is. I think Leblanc is a common surname, and I also think Leclerc is a common surname, and Lefebvre. But yeah, so they don't do keeping up with Leclerc. Um, I don't get that impression, and I might be wrong. So, what's noticeable for me is that I quite often, if we're out and about, I can often tell when the woman getting out of a car in the supermarket car park, or the woman I'm passing in the supermarket, or wherever. I can often tell that she's come from the UK because of her hair. Her hair will be normally will be very well cut and blonde and straightened and styled, and she's more than likely getting out of a 4x4. It's just like it stands out to me. And what stood out to me, which I don't really notice so much now, is that French girls, teenagers, don't fiddle around with their hair in the way that English girls do. There isn't that heavy makeup thing. Oh, there isn't there isn't any of that. Caterpillars for eyelashes, eyebrows drawn in, heavy makeup, all of that. There isn't that. So a French girl's hair is very natural. You know, long hair is long hair, and it gets tied up or it gets left long. It doesn't really get styled, and that, you know, it's like there isn't that whole pressure to be to stand out or to look different or to fit in, I suppose. You know, they all look different and are different and don't have to try and be something they're not. The other thing that um, relates to that is that the color tones that you can choose for your shutters on your houses and the paint on your houses is actually not that we asked, but it's actually quite muted in a way. You wouldn't have bright red. There are some, actually, I've seen a couple, but there is a color palette that's chosen by the commune or by the mayor. You could go into the mayor and say, what's the color palette, and then you can see what your choices are. um I don't think that is so common now, but it there again, that it's muted, and car colors are muted. Very rarely I come across, driving along, very rarely come across a red car or a yellow car or whatever colour cars you've got over in the UK. The colours are muted. The cars are just, you know, we have blues and greys and whites and greens and, yeah, all different colours like that, but not bright green, not, you know, they're sort of just muted, I suppose. I keep saying that word, but it does feel like that. So yeah, this house in Piccadilly was lovely, and I'm sure if I went into any of the village houses here, they would be really lovely on the inside, but on the outside, as you've seen when we drive through, they don't stand out. But there is one house now that I'm intrigued to find out who it belongs to. I'm pretty sure that it must belong to either an English person or it's going to be Macron's second home. There's a house in the village that artisans have been working on for at least a year, and I've watched them going in. I've seen the electricians going in. I've seen the builders going in. I've seen the guys that did our decorating going in. Um, it's sort of a square house, and it really did need redoing, and it's been completely redone. You know, it's been redone inside, the windows, the roof. It's been re-rendered, and there's a beautiful. Feel like I've spoken about this before. There's a beautiful conservatory on the back. They even relayed the path in front of it. So I'm just dying to see who moves in there. I'm dying to go in and look at it. And if my French were better, I would go and ask one of the artisans if I could look at it, especially if there was somewhere in there I knew. But I think they've finished now. But it's probably a maison secondaire. So it's like all of that money, because it's had a lot of money spent on it, all of that money is not going to be repaid by, if you did all of that and then sold it, you wouldn't ever get that money back because it's just a house in a village in France. It it would be of good value, you know, it would value well, but you would never get the money back that you've spent on it. It's not the way it is in the UK. So I'll be interested to see if anybody lives in it. And I think it's really sad if it's a maison secondaire. I think it's lovely, and yeah. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about whilst we were laying awake in the night. I'm hoping that we don't have to lay awake tonight. I'm getting a bit bored with that. It's just lit the fire. We've not had a fire all day. As I said, it's been very squally but very mild. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, it was 13 degrees centigrade, so you know, really mild, and not unpleasant indoors. Quite comfortable indoors. But eventually, um, about an hour ago, I said, "Do you think you could light the fire so that when we get up in the morning, it'll be warm?" I think I lit the fire yesterday. I did. I lit the fire yesterday, but I've hurt my hands. Yesterday, I made pork schnitzel. So it wasn't veal; it was pork. But I did like a schnitzel, which meant that I needed to put the pieces of pork between greaseproof paper and pound them. And I haven't got one of those hammers, those wooden hammers that you use for pounding steak. So I use my rolling pin. My rolling pin is this thick, and I was doing it with that. And at the time, I was thinking, "Oh God, this is hurting. This isn't comfortable." And I could, you know, earlier on, 3 hours ago, I could hardly move this. This underneath the glove is all strapped up like this, and I might have one of these on as well. I'm not sure, but it's a lot more comfortable now. But I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't get comfortable. I needed a sling just to hold it because whatever I did, I was getting shooting pains through it. Self-inflicted. I really, really must stop doing that. I really, really must actually get Mark to do this. And I don't. I'm just not good at asking for help. I haven't ever been. I wasn't brought up to ask for help. And I'm only 69. Maybe I'll learn as I get older. So yeah. I got him to light the fire just now because I thought if I get up in the morning and he's not up, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's too much for my hands. So it's lit. That's very comfortable. It's nice, much nicer than any other sort of heat. So that's that. Kathy, you talked about, you said about you're missing my rants, and could I do maybe a small rant now and again? I really don't think I should. I think I need to stick to where I am, and you're on Blue Sky as well, so you can see me. You can see my outrage on there because you're on Blue Sky too. I'm not going to bring it back onto the channel. It's, it doesn't achieve anything. I'm not going to achieve anything. Um, the outrage was beforehand and the aftermath. It's like I'm not going to achieve anything, and I just become an echo chamber, and people can see what's going on if they want to look, and the people that we want to see, or the people that we want to understand or see the reality of it, aren't looking. They're not interested in what we have to say. And it's the same with Facebook. When I was on Facebook, I'd share stuff. So I find that I'm thinking, oh, and I'd share it on Facebook because I think people, not everybody was on Twitter or not everybody was on Blue Sky. And, it was like sharing some of the stuff with people on Facebook. But actually, I just became an echo chamber and I don't want to do that anymore. I'm finding it frustrating not doing it because I've done it for a while. But actually, I have to keep reminding myself I don't want to do that anymore. So I won't be coming back on here doing that. I am sitting on my hands sometimes, I can tell you, but I won't be coming on doing that. So that's that. I do have to say, what the fuck happened to that fire at the chateau? It's only been there a year, hasn't it? Our wood burner is 12 years old. What the fuck has happened to it? What an awful, expensive disaster. I'm just shocked that it hasn't been taken. And it's such a lovely wood burner. Green enamel. Is it enamel? I don't know. What? Yeah. So I have to say that's my outrage for today. What the fuck? Okay. Thanks for watching. And oh, it's my computer that gives me the light. See? Okay, thanks for watching, and thanks for the new subscribers. Thanks for commenting, and see you all in the next vlog.